we all have tough lives in some way. We've all been through some things, and it really does. It adds to the person. It makes them more relatable. It makes other people appreciate the struggles that they've gone through and learn through them how to be resilient. And I really feel like maybe me getting out of the government and coming into the like true civilian sector, and even speaking with people who are going through things in their life, whenever I meet someone, I listen to what they say, they listen to what I say, and we learn from each other. But it puts things into perspective, or it helps me put things into perspective.
Disinformation is spreading.
There will be a surprise outbreak is the issue of pandemic.
No social distancing at all.
They said that they would express their concerns about the mask supply.
Where's the mask? Where's the glove?
A second wave is...
We all need some good news.
A message for all the healthcare workers out there.
Thank you.
If you're looking for hope tonight, raise your hand. If you feel alone and don't understand, if you're fighting the fight of your life, then stand.
From Santa Rosa, California, this is 19 Stories. I'm Cheryl Halling. My guest, Crystal Lee, is a powerhouse of energy, light, and positivity. For over 20 years, she's traveled the world serving our country in the U.S. military, first as a technical sergeant with the Defense Information Systems Agency, and culminating her military career in April 2020 as a network systems architect with the Defense Intelligence Agency. As a child, Crystal loved acting, singing, and creating characters. Her mother, who is Filipino, and her father, who is of German-English descent, had encouraged and nurtured her creativity from an early age. And during her time in the service, Crystal utilized her voice acting talents while participating in field exercises and deployments. Her voice's unique qualities rendered it invaluable when used to authenticate section call signs and code words. She also starred in multiple Armed Forces radio network and television spots, doing some modeling and Hawaiian Tahitian belly dancing as creative outlets from the rigidity of military life. After she retired, she did a short stint as a government contractor, then a government civilian, and quickly realized that between the office politics and her unfulfilled feelings, that it was time to leave government work altogether. After doing so, she says her life opened up to a whirlwind of possibilities, and it was time to create her own reality. She is now a voice actor specializing in voiceover for animation, commercials, and industrials, the founder and CEO of Crystal J Productions, a service-disabled veteran, belly dancing nerd, and magical being. Crystal is an amalgamation of beauty, integrity, discipline, creativity, and quirkiness. Obviously, the industry thinks so as well, given her commercial demo was nominated for a Sovas Award in 2021. So let's meet this sassy, sweet, excited, and super cute force of nature by welcoming Crystal M. Lee to 19 Stories.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Happy to be here.
I am so happy to have you here as well. We are going to stumble through your leaf blower that I understand it's decided to visit you right before, always is the case, right before you joined me.
Of course.
Of course. So that's okay. Leaf blower, whatever. We're going to deal with it. We'll roll with the punches. So how you doing today?
I'm doing really well, staying busy, getting my creative juices flowing. I have a multitude of projects and I want to do everything.
You want to do everything. Well, we're going to talk about all the things. And I have to ask you, though, given you are now officially 19 Stories resident globetrotter, because I've never seen anyone or spoken to anyone who's traveled as much as you have, where do you currently call home?
Currently, I'm in Los Angeles, California. I'm headquartered out of Claremont, Florida, so I go back and forth throughout the year. My family's on the East Coast. I do have family on the West Coast as well. Actually, I have a lot of family. The Filipino side is huge.
Now, when you say headquartered, do you mean for your production company?
Oh, very good question. It's for my business.
Okay.
Yeah, Florida is home for now. I am actually originally from Fort Washington, Maryland. That's where I grew up. And then after I joined the military and retired from the military, I decided, since I have a little sister or younger sister, she's living in Florida with her 3 kids. That's where I want to be. Eventually, I'll go back there. But right now, I'm enjoying the California adventure.
And why wouldn't you? Yeah, as a former Southern California girl, I can certainly appreciate the videos and images I'm seeing of my former home. And I think you just answered my question. Out of all the places you've been to in the world, if there was a particular place in our country or elsewhere that you see yourself living permanently, and so it would be Florida then? Okay.
Sorry. Florida for now until the kids grow up and move away.
Got it. Okay. You're talking about your nieces and nephews?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I have 2 nieces and 1 nephew. And once they're gone, I mean, I think I really do. I have a gypsy heart. And one of the places that I've lived in Europe for quite a number of years. And my favorite place is Italy. So
I knew you were going to say that. I don't know why. Because it's one of mine. So I want to live vicariously through you. But tell me where in Italy you favor.
I love Italy as a whole. For all of you Italians out there, I love you all. But I stayed I was stationed at Aviano Air Base, which is northwest. It's 45 minutes north of Venice or Venezia. And I do like the northern region, although the southern region is beautiful as well. But one of the places that I was looking at possibly staying is this beautiful, it's a smaller lake in the Lake District. It's called Lago di Iseo, and it's right in between Lake Garda and Lake Como.
It sounds divine.
So beautiful, very, quiet. I figured as a voiceover artist, I can, go and do my recordings, go get a cappuccino, come back, do more stuff. If I need to be in studio or something like that, I can fly back. But yeah, this is much later, like after I've established the career and, just established myself in the voiceover community. Because I've only been in business less than 2 years. Like I've only been in the industry for a little over a year.
So let's talk about that. First of all, I love the vision that you have. I mean, that I keep saying to my husband, I want to move to Italy. He goes, why do you want to move to Italy? We live in wine country that emulates so many parts of Italy. I said, they have your favorite trees. They have the Italian cypresses. He goes, oh, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. So, Crystal, you've gone from having, and I'm doing in air quotes, a real job in the military and working for the government to now having your own company and working as a professional voiceover artist. And after reading your military resume and the projects you've worked on, it's safe to say that you're pretty much a badass, right? Would you agree with that?
I mean, I don't want to put words into people's mouths.
You didn't. I said that. I'm like, I said, it's probably a good thing we're going to meet virtually on the mic. I might say something and she'll open up a can of something.
No, I only bring it out if it's called for. No, honestly, I mean, being in the military taught me so much, and it really made me quite fearless. I mean, I've been deployed multiple times. I've had over 11 surgeries. I broke my face, had reconstruction surgery on my nose. You see, I love to post pictures like showing off my scars because I think they're beautiful. I don't have any tattoos. I just have the scars from my life.
You have life tattoos. So how does one break their face?
Oh, so I was in Kuwait and there was another airman who had fallen asleep because this is during 2003. It was the shock and awe campaign, when we went and bombed Iraq. So this person fell asleep. I tried to wake them up. They popped up and the back of their head hit my face so hard it broke my nose.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I have pictures of, before the accident and after the accident. And I ended up having some health problems because I didn't address it right away. Because, you're in war. You have all this stuff going on, and just being deployed has its own stresses. So by the time I got back, I just kind of lived with it for a few years and I didn't do anything about it until it started really affecting my health because I couldn't breathe properly. It affected my sleep. I remember there was a time in Italy where the unit I was attached to, we did multiple war game exercises when we weren't deployed. So it's like you're either deployed and you're doing war stuff or you're at home in your home base and they train you consistently. So it's like you never get a break, right?
So you were walking around with this broken nose that had to basically self-heal?
Well, when it healed, I had a severe deviated septum. Both, it was terrible. I was stationed in Mountain Home, Idaho, and that's when it happened. And I didn't do anything about it until I think 3 assignments later. So I went from Idaho to South Korea to Italy, then to New Mexico. And I didn't get help until I was in New Mexico.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And I want to ask you about something later on about one of the injuries you had that kind of led you into some good things in your life. But I'm going to step back to some of the things that I mentioned in your intro about, and first of all, just thank God you're okay, that you finally got it dealt with. And thank you for your service, by the way. Just take this moment and thank you. And I never know if that feels like an empty kind of pat thing to say to someone who has served our country. But I think certainly now more than ever, and having an understanding in real time what that means for people to give their life and lay down their life. And certainly your health at the moment, dealing with that through 3 deployments and then finally have time to deal with it. So I mentioned in your intro, you've worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency, and I didn't say it was in Stuttgart, Germany. And as a total side note, I watched the video you posted on your YouTube channel where you're taking viewers on a ride to go get, of all things, milk.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, this girl's in Germany. It's probably beautiful countryside. She's going to walk out in the back and just go milk a cow. No, you drove like 20 miles through this, like I say, amazing countryside, passing all these towns and stores. And I'm thinking, okay, she's going to a dairy. There's going to be a path. She's going to a dairy and will probably be, again, milking the cows herself. But no, you end up what looks like a water vending machine, but it's for milk. You get your 4 quarts and then drive back 20 miles home.
It was good milk.
Crystal, I was going to say it, but it begs the question. Wasn't there an actual store that you could have stopped to get your milk?
So funny thing, I know more health stuff, right? So I think I get this from my mom's side of the family, the Filipino side. So I have a bit of lactose intolerance just in the United States.
Because of the cows here in the States?
I think it's the way they process the cheese and the milk.
Yeah,
so
okay.
When I was in Germany, even the stuff in the stores, sometimes it's like the way they process it, my body doesn't react well. Well, one of the people that my ex-husband, so I'm divorced, my ex-husband worked with had suggested this wonderful dairy farm. And we ended up, he went there, he got the milk, and I tried it, and I had 0 issues. So the entire time that I was in Germany, I was able to drink real milk, like with cookies and all kinds of things. And it was just like the best thing. Oh my God, Cheryl, I gained some weight.
Trust me, I would too. And it's interesting that you're making that point because I live in an area that has a lot of local dairies where you can actually go get fresh milk as well. Mm-hmm. And the enzymes are different in that milk. So how interesting that you actually found a place, like you say, you could do all the things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, I miss Germany. I'm actually, the place that we were stationed, it's the Schwäbisch area. And my family lives in Schwäbisch Gmünd. So whenever I was living in Germany, my cousins and my aunts and uncles and great aunts and uncles, they lived 45 minutes away. So it was really nice to, reconnect and hang out with family because while I was living in Germany, my German grandmother, she ended up passing away. So it was really nice to just have that connection and, just be with family for a little while.
How beautiful that you were able to do that. And I kind of went off track here. I was talking about you being a network system engineer for the Defense Intelligence Agency, a quality assurance manager for the United States Air Force, which by the National Security Agency, where you established procedures and quality standards to monitor over $2 billion worth of network access. When I read that, I'm like, this gal is tough. You worked with Armed Forces Network as a maintenance manager, again, maintaining over $2 million worth of radio and TV broadcasting equipment. So let's talk about, before we get into all things voiceover and creativity, what interested you in joining the military in the first place?
Oh, my dad. I actually come from not a military heavy family, but I have 3 grandfathers and they all served in the military. So my mom's dad, Filipino side, joined the Navy, got his citizenship through the Navy, the American Navy. He was a chef in the White House for 5 presidents. And
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
I can cook too.
I was going to say, this girl can cook. She can protect our country and fry it up in a pan.
That's right. I'll make you some chicken adobo, some lumpia.
Oh, I was going to, and pancit?
Yeah. I'll
Oh,
make
okay.
you some pancit.
All right. I'm there. I'm so there. I am so there. Chicken adobo. I could just have that with ice cream or nothing at all. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
And my other grandfather, my dad's stepdad, he actually worked on Air Force One. He was in the Air Force. And then my dad's real dad, he was in the Army Air Corps in World War II. That's how he met my German grandmother. And yeah, pretty heavy family. But it was a month before my high school graduation. I was 17 years old and I had a partial scholarship to Quinnipiac University. It's a college in Connecticut because I did massage therapy. I did massages growing up. I had some people in my family that are massage therapists and they really inspired me. And I love healing and helping people. So I applied to their physical therapy program, got accepted. And then a month before my graduation, I'm like cooking food. And my dad's like, hey, have you ever thought about joining the military? And I was like, no. I have a partial scholarship, Dad. What are you talking about? So my neighbors, they were E9s. They were Chief Master Sergeants. It's like the highest level that you can get, the highest enlisted level you can get in the military. So he had asked them to come over, talk to me about the Air Force, and I loved it. It was basically, they really sold it when they said you can do 20 years and you can retire after 20 years and have full medical, full dental, full vision, have access to all of the bases around the world and all of their services. You get discounts on a lot of things. And it just sounded like, I was like, all right, I could do this. So I signed up. I graduated at the end of May, and 3 days later, I left for basic training.
Wow.
Yeah. So the thing was I was actually on the delayed enlistment program to go into their physical therapy program, but I wasn't going to leave until December. Well, my recruiter called, and this was 2 days before graduation. My recruiter called and said one of the female recruits he had got pregnant and she lost the slot. So he said he had an open slot, but I'd have to leave 3 days later and I would lose my guaranteed job. And I was 17. I had no idea what that meant. Just that there was a possibility I wouldn't be a physical therapist, but I could leave like early and I was ready to start my new life. So I was like, yeah, sign me up. Let's do it. So I'm in basic training and we're going through and they're trying to assign jobs to everybody. And I ended up getting signals intelligence. So I was an intelligence analyst my first 4 years in the military. And that's how that happened.
Wow. You were so young. It's really interesting that you and I have a connection in that the day before I went back, no one in my family knew this. A friend of mine knew that I was going to join the Air Force. And the day before I was going to go sign papers and I made my decision, a friend of mine talked me out of it versus what your family or your friends had talked you into it. And I had always wondered how things would be had I made that decision. So let's talk about how is it when they said, all right, if you don't take this slot, you'll lose your job. Well, what happened with the physical therapy aspect of what you were going to be doing?
So the physical therapy aspect of it, when I spoke with the recruiter about it, he said he had mentioned something as to the Air Force. I think all branches of service have this as well. There is a program called cross training. So when you join, if you don't like your job, you do have a limited window to change jobs. And that's what I ended up doing after, I think it was at my 3-year mark, because I enlisted for 4 years. And at my 3-year mark, I was in the window to change jobs. So I actually looked into, physical therapy, but physical therapy wasn't open at the time. So I ended up signing up for like long haul communications. Basically, I worked on router switches and long haul equipment. And that was my second job in the Air Force. But the intel aspect of it like really helped me out because there were points where I work on equipment that in a previous, like my previous job in the Air Force, I worked on it as an intel analyst. So it was just neat to see like the whole spectrum of that. So
you were exposed to some pretty interesting information. Would that be safe to say?
Yes, very interesting information. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yes, that's okay. I mean, just so the listeners know, I mean, I can certainly appreciate even kind of the residual, if you will, effects of being in that position, because when you sent me some photos and I was trying to open up your photos, you're saying, oh, they're secure, they're locked. That's just kind of my military training. And I thought, well, we could probably all use a little bit of being a little bit more cautious about what we're putting out there. So to hear that, I can only imagine. I have known people in my life who they just can't even mention what they did because it's that top secret and the things you're exposed to. And I certainly want to respect that. In your resume, you say that you are, and I mentioned this in your intro as well, a service-disabled veteran. Does that have to do with the injuries that you just spoke of earlier on? Or I read about that you had incurred some injuries to both of your knees. So would you mind sharing a little bit about what happened with that?
Oh, sure. The service disabled veteran and being disabled, like getting the disability tag and all that, those are two separate things. I mean, they can be hand in hand with each other, but my disabilities are not visible besides my scars. In addition to like having my face broken or my nose, breaking my nose, there have been multiple times where I've been deployed or like on exercises where I've fallen or done things and I've hit my head really hard. So I do have a TBI, traumatic brain injury. And from being deployed, there's the whole PTSD aspect of it, everything. Also the multiple surgeries, I've had over 11 procedures. And I'm small. I'm like 5'1".
Yeah, you're petite. You're a little petite gal.
Yeah, but I'm very strong. So one of the things that we do when we're ramping up and training for our deployments is we do hand-to-hand combat, we do, chem warfare training, and we do self-aid buddy care. And in self-aid buddy care, one of the things we do is if you have a person who's injured out in the field, you'll have to transport them to a place of safety. So while I was actually a self-aid buddy care instructor and a CPR instructor in addition to my other jobs. And one of the things in self-aid buddy care, they teach you how to do fireman carries. They teach you how to drag people correctly without hurting yourself. Well, they thought it would be funny to pair me up with someone who was 300 pounds.
No.
So I carried a 300-pound man from point A to point B. It was probably I don't know, maybe a couple yards or something, just to show if you really needed to transport someone, take little steps and be cautious and careful and do that. So I did that. And then when I did the dismount, I fell on my knees. I was okay at the time because I had all this adrenaline, but the fall, in addition to the physical training that we had to do, it wasn't the Army. So we don't call it ruck marches, but we did have very long, I would say, hikes or marches where we'd have to carry all of our bags and chem gear. That, in addition to just running constantly on hard surfaces, it really damaged my knees. So it's okay. I get disability for it now. And I've done so much physical therapy and I dance as well. I did professional belly dancing for a little while I was in the service. I still do belly dancing now too, because I love it. But that has really helped strengthen and keep my body symmetrical as far as my muscle tone and everything. So
I was just about to ask you about your belly dancing. So I'm so glad that you brought it up. And you answered my question if it helped you in, your physical rehabilitation from your injuries. And had you been dancing prior to your injury, or was this something you learned to help you heal?
Oh, so I've been dancing. My mom put us through my first dance class. I was 3 years old.
I'm sure you were a doll baby.
Yeah. Well, on my website, I think I put in a picture of my first tap recital or something. It was a black and white polka dot dress. And it was a funny picture. Yeah. So my mom, she made sure that we were well-rounded. So growing up, we were in dance, both modern, which is tap, jazz, and folk dancing. So she put us in Filipino dancing, Hawaiian, Tahitian dancing. But she made sure we sang, we each had to pick an instrument and do instrument, Mom and Dad were very good at making sure we were covered on all in all areas. But yeah, dancing, I'm just a very physical person. And I find that there's a type of moving meditation and a way to stay present when your body is moving. So I've always loved dancing and just exercising, fun exercising. Is that a thing in general?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And shout out to mom and dad. I mean, when you have that kind of influence and support growing up, combined with certainly the discipline and everything you went through in the military, I think it equals a really strong person if you have that basis, which you did. And it sounds like there was obviously some fear in your deployment and going through your surgeries and breaking the bones you have and the surgeries that you had. So I'm curious if there's a particular faith that helped you move through it, or was it the physical outlet of dancing or another skill set that you developed to help you through that time?
Well, I've always, even like as a kid, I've been kind of not religious. I was spiritual. So I always felt like there was something, I wasn't alone ever. Like even when I was deployed or you go through depression and, there's things that you're dealing with. I never felt alone. And even now, in my adult life, especially taking this journey into voiceover, there's a lot of unknowns out there. And it seems like just incredible divine timing, divine meetings. I'm meeting up with people that are helping me through this journey. And even though it is me by myself, there have been people that have been placed in my life that, one, are helping me level up in spirituality, in understanding the entertainment industry, just having fun being a voiceover artist, and even introducing me to people in the community that kind of show me the ropes, or even help with jobs or whatever it is that I need to spread love and light out into the world. It's the journey has been incredible.
It's palpable because anybody who sees your picture or now in talking with you, but I want to kind of revert back because this struck me in talking with you now and hearing about your strength, both your physical and your emotional and spiritual strength. In 2013, you shared a rather personal story in the publication, The Arctic Warrior, about an incident that happened with your parents. Do you mind sharing what that was and the kind of impact it had on you growing up?
Yes. So when I was working I was stationed in Turkey. It was Incirlik Air Base. I was approached by the command chief master sergeant. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but she was wonderful. And she was an inspiration to me. She was wonderful, even though I feel bad that at the moment, I'm blaming it on the traumatic brain injury because sometimes I forget things.
I have brain farts all the time, Crystal. It's okay. You'll remember at 3 a.m. and you'll call me up and say, I remembered her name. It's okay.
But she approached me, and it was during I think it's called the 101 Days of Summer. It's a campaign that the Air Force does to promote safety, during the fun times, So she asked if I had any instances with drugs or drunkenness or something that I could help share my story and kind of sway people to make better decisions. And I shared my story about what happened, with my parents. And she said, would you mind writing an article about it? And, I was working with the Armed Forces Network at the time. So I worked with a bunch of journalists. I just worked on their equipment. But, by proxy, I was able to assist with other things as well. And it was one of those things where, I had the little gut check, and the gut was like, hey, go, do it. It's a good thing for you. So I did it. And it ended up being very popular. So they published it in the Incirlik base paper. I think the Air Force Times picked it up. So it's my story, but it was just shared throughout different military mediums, which, felt really good. One, because it helped, spread the word hey, if you're going to drink, don't drive, or, just be a good citizen and don't screw up someone else's life for your bad choices, So, yeah, it was definitely, I feel grateful for the opportunity.
Would you mind sharing what it is that happened with your parents?
Sure. I think I was 7 or 11. My parents were involved in a car crash that involved a drunk driver from New York. If you've ever been in the Washington, D.C. area and spent any time, it's National Harbor now, but there's this road. It's called Oxon Hill Road. And there was a part of Oxon Hill Road that was very dangerous. Like it was pretty steep. It was kind of a blind spot. It was very narrow. And my parents had gone to a party and they were on their way home. And this guy had been drinking and swerved into their lane and caused my dad to run into a light pole, basically. My mom wasn't wearing her seatbelt. Her head went through the windshield. She had safety glasses on that she just put on right before the accident. It was pretty amazing. But my dad broke his back. My mom, she's healing from, the injuries to her face. And like at the time, my grandparents or my grandfather, he came over to the house and tried to get in, but my sister and I were always like, stranger danger. So if we heard anything, we would just like
stranger danger.
We would just hide and not open the door. And then our parents never came home that morning. The morning they didn't come home. So we were just thinking, oh man, they must have that party. My sister was young at the time, so I don't think she thought this, but I was just like, man, they must have had a good time. And then we went to my grandparents' house. We were told everything that happened. And then my parents came home and, it was just like a realization at a very young age. Like we could have lost our parents and been raised by, we would have been raised by family members probably, but still at the same time that it's twofold. It makes you reevaluate the decisions in your life that you make.
Yeah.
And two, it really makes you appreciate what you have, and it appreciates you appreciate the relationships that you have because they can be gone just like that.
Absolutely. And I thank you for sharing that. I think that's one of the reasons I wanted you to speak to that. And I guess my follow-up question to that is based on a statement that you said, there are other things you can do besides drink excessively. Find the niche that makes you happy. Go to school, travel, etc. So did that experience in some ways influence your desire to use your voice now, travel, use your voice, entertain and inspire people by spreading, not only sharing your message in the Arctic Warrior, but certainly continuing to share and spread positivity?
Oh, yeah. I really feel like that's one of the life paths that I've been bestowed with.
I think so. I think so, too. Yeah.
Just, I think that's the one thing when you meet someone who's been through a very tough life. And it doesn't matter, like, we all have tough lives in some way. We've all been through some things. And it really does. It adds to the person. It makes them more relatable. It makes other people appreciate the struggles that they've gone through and learn through them how to be resilient. And I really feel like maybe me getting out of the government and coming into the like true civilian sector and, even speaking with people who are going through things in their life. Whenever I meet someone, I listen to what they say, they listen to what I say, and we learn from each other, but it puts things into perspective, or it helps them, it helps me put things into perspective. The whole military thing, I would never want to go back to government. This is just like a side caveat, but I would never want to go back into government work. But being in the entertainment industry now, I wouldn't mind like consulting or something. I'm like, you want to know about the military for stuff? Call me. I will consult you.
Yeah. I think that statement was a double entendre.
Oh, yeah.
You can consult for the military. And actually, there are jobs for that. I know musicians who will watch something in a film and go, that wouldn't happen like that. You wouldn't set that drum set up like that. You wouldn't set the guitar didn't exist during this time frame, so it's actually needed. But when you said consulting for entertainment, I'm like, yeah, entertainment could use some other kind of consulting. So let's talk about your voice. Like, you always use your voice in many, many ways throughout the military, from the time you were a kid, singing, etc. But voiceover, out of all the things that you could have gone into, how did that happen for you?
Oh, so I had just quit my job at the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency. Wonderful people. I really enjoyed working with my team. It was just, I wasn't feeling it. And things were happening. And I was like, I really feel like I need to go off and do something else. So it was right before the pandemic hit, right along the same time as the pandemic. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to kind of start my own thing, have my own business. But I was going to, like, one of my girlfriends that I went through basic training with, we're still friends. Her name is Morgan Courier. She is a published author. She wrote a book. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I'm going to write a book. I think it's called like Thy Will Be Done or something like that. It's a wonderful book. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be an author and I'm going to make fun videos because I live in Germany and people can't see or go out. Not that they can't see. People, because of the pandemic, they aren't allowed to go out and travel and stuff. So I was going to do like travel videos or whatever.
To get milk.
Exactly, to get milk. And when I was looking and researching, because I like to research everything before I get into something. When I was doing research on how to make good videos, all of these voiceover videos started popping up, and I didn't click on anything that said I was interested in voiceover. They just kind of started happening.
Interesting.
And
wow.
I was watching just these random videos that would come up, like Mike Delgadio, Gabrielle Nistico, and Pro Z. So those videos started popping up, and then I saw one from Gabby, and I ended up contacting her. She was my very first voiceover coach, and we hit it off. And then she, we did a mic assessment, and I had like a very inexpensive mic, and she was like, depending on your voice, there's certain types of microphones that, really make your voice sound very rich. So that was the first thing. And then I ended up doing a read for her, and she was like, you know what, you're actually very good. So I ended up signing up with her. And then Joe Zija, he was in the Air Force as well. I started seeing videos from him pop up, and he had suggested for his own voiceover journey, he had gotten in touch with J. Michael Collins, and I got in touch with J. Michael Collins. So I've had wonderful voiceover coaches that have really like propelled me into this like amazing, magical voiceover world.
That's a great way to describe it. And I'm curious if you have a bucket list, if you will, that you care to share of projects that you would really love to do.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That brought joy.
So I do. I have a bucket list, and anything more than this is gravy. It's just icing on the cake. And as far as projects, I would love to be in 3 animated series. Like
3. Okay, not 2, not 4, just 3.
3 animated series as a recurring character. It doesn't have to be a main character. And then 2 feature films as a voiceover character in there. And have 2 success. So I do screenwriting as well. I got into that kind of around the time I had just gotten into my voiceover, because I was going to write. I had 3 books that I wanted to write, and 2 of them I'm turning into screenplays. One actually I'm working on right now. It's called The Nightingale Tattletale. It's loosely based off of my time in the intelligence community.
Ooh, I like the name and the premise. Very cool.
Like you guys will see that coming out hopefully within the next year or so. But that's my list. And anything more than that, if I, book for more jobs or get really big commercial spot or even like a little commercial spot, anything that comes in, I am just incredibly grateful for it all. I'm just so happy that, I don't have any children because I had problems when I was in the military and I can't have babies. So one of the things that I'm like, as far as leaving a legacy, I won't leave like children as a legacy, but, I'm already in a couple cartoons. They're very low budget cartoons, but that's my voice. And that's
that's okay. That's you.
Yeah, that's going to be in the ether forever. So that's my legacy, is just one, helping other people with their dreams and goals, helping myself with my dreams and goals, and leaving all this fun stuff for everyone to listen to after I'm gone. So
I'm going to believe and affirm that that's going to happen for you. I have one on my list as far as I've even defined it to the company of who I want to work with for my role. So maybe even refining it even more, because you seem to manifest some things pretty quickly. I mean, that's interesting. You're doing this web search and all of a sudden all this, on videos, and all of a sudden all this voiceover information keeps coming up, and you follow that. And now we're talking.
I know. It's so
fantastic. Yeah. And you have that, I read that as part of, because that was on your website. I guess that's the magical part that you were referring to, is just having these things come up and really come to you. And I think those opportunities are out there. We just need to be aware of them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're so focused on looking left and something on the right is going, hello, lady, over here.
Yeah.
So, Crystal, what makes you hopeful?
Oh, every time, I don't know, I guess it's every time there's a positive change sparked by a little action, that makes me hopeful.
Ooh, I like that. So,
Yeah.
can you repeat that?
Sure. Anytime there's a big change sparked by a little action, that makes me hopeful.
Love that.
And I see it even in LA. I mean, I know LA is like a big city and everyone has their thoughts on how it is here. But since I've moved here, I've developed a very grounding, wonderful support system. And the people that I've met, I mean, there's some weeding out because you know how it is in the entertainment industry. But I've met some very authentic, genuine people, and even more so in the voiceover community. I think that's why I would always choose voiceover over on-screen. Nothing against on-screen because it's wonderful and there's some really wonderful people in there. But I live with an on-screen and a voice actor, and you know, she was even saying that there's a difference. And everyone that I've met in the voiceover community has been so encouraging and just wonderfully kind people. And it's been nothing but, I know I keep saying it because it's kind of my tagline, but like, I really feel this way. It's just been an incredibly magical journey. And I love getting to know people in our community. I love getting to knowing what their stories are and how they got into it, because everyone has a different story. And you know, it just makes me want to like support them too. Like, oh, I have a job for you. Or, hey, if I meet someone else who is a producer or director here, or they're looking for a specific type of voice, that's why I try to get to know as many voiceover people as possible, because I can refer them. I can be like, well, I know this person does this type of voice. Here's their stuff. Check them out. And there's a lot of different industries out there where it's always me, me, me. And it seems like in the voiceover industry, for the most part, I know there's other people out there, but it seems like everyone is just trying to support each other. So.
Yeah, it's very generous genre of the entertainment industry. Very, very generous. You hit it completely on the head as far as the difference between on camera and voiceover. And not everybody on camera, but it's definitely more of it's more self-focused as opposed to other focus. And just this morning, actually, Ann Ganguza contacted Jody and I and said, do you do audiobooks? Because she's working on something. And I referred someone, Jody referred someone, and that's how it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because why wouldn't you want to help someone fill a role that they're looking for? I think that stuff only comes back anyway. I mean, that's not why you do it. But it's just coming from a generous place, knowing that maybe later on down the line, someone will be throwing your name out there. So curious what you do, having lived in LA most of my life, knowing it's a tough city to get around at times, even if you love it and things are going well. What do you do? You know, people don't understand when you say 5 miles, that could be half an hour. And they're like, no. And you're like, yes, they could. So what do you do to take care of yourself in the midst of all the things you got going on?
I belly dance. No, it's funny. But yeah, I do things that make me happy. So there is a wonderful place, like literally 2 miles away. It's the LA Belly Dance Academy. It's run by this beautiful soul. Her name is Stephanie. And I go and attend classes, and I have like wonderful fellowship with fellow belly dancers. And that feeds my soul. And there's a ton of places around here for physical stuff. So you can have massages or like get your nails done, your hair done. I do partake in the, massages sometimes.
Well, with everything you've been through, yes, absolutely. You need to.
So there's that. And then, I mean, the VA in LA is wonderful too. I mean, I know there's like mixed reviews about it, but my experiences with the Veterans Affairs like hospital here has been really, really good. You know, as far as like mental health and taking care of your body, mindfulness, all of those things. And that's the one thing I do appreciate about, there's many things I appreciate about LA, but one of the things I do appreciate about this place is that there is a mindfulness community here, and people have really taken seriously the mental health issues. So that, that's one thing. And plus, again, my support system, it's Akira Lee Watanabe and Cheryl Neve. Akira Lee is a voiceover actor and the on-screen actor. And then Cheryl Neve, she does acting as well, but she is a director and a producer. She actually did a short music video with a famous pianist, Fabio, I think it's D'Angelo, but she did something with Mel B in support of Women's Aid. And then also Akira, she's worked with, some of the top actors in the UK, and having them in my life And if I'm working myself to the bone, or I'm just like not focusing on myself, I'm focusing on other things and other people or other projects, they're like a sanity check. They come in and they're like, hey, you look stressed, or do you want to go for a walk? Or,
Wonderful.
So
yeah, wonderful.
That really helps. Also, shameless plug for them. Like, if you want to interview them, they're great.
No, I love referrals. And you know what? We need, whether you're in entertainment or not, we all need our people in our lives. And I think you set up my next question so perfectly about mindfulness, because one of the things that was really hard to do other than through Zoom, thank God for Zoom, the invention of Zoom, but not being able to be in the midst of the people who really support us and nourish us and can look at us and go, you need to take some downtime. Oh, but I have to. No, you don't need to do anything. You need to go outside, get some fresh air, some vitamin D. So is there something you wish folks were mindful of right now as it relates to how we can care for each other?
Yeah, I would say, well, one, for yourself, stay present. It is very, very important to really focus on the here and now. Yes, it's good to plan and do all those things. But the thing is that I find that a lot of people are worrying about the future. They're worrying about tomorrow. They're worrying about all these things.
Yes.
And it's like, it hasn't even happened yet. Like, like you're worrying twice. I'm sure there's someone else who's famous who said that before, but I'm like, seriously.
I love that line. You're worrying twice.
Yeah, you're worrying twice. Just try to stay present, do whatever it is you need to do, today. And whenever that next thing comes up, make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. And then when it happens, then if it happens and it's a positive thing, you didn't worry at all. Like, you didn't have to worry about anything. And if it ends up not being so great, you can worry about it then.
It's so easy to say that, though, isn't it, Crystal? It's so easy. There's the things we get caught up in, but hopefully, prayerfully, the past 2 years, and certainly what's going on right now, has taught us, like you said, live in the moment, because that's what we have. That's what we have.
And there's training to do it. Like another shameless plug. This is what I love about belly dancing. And like I play ukulele and violin, the physical things. You can't be on your phone and you have to stay present. You can't let your mind wander. Or people that like work on cars or they're interior decorating, they paint, or even like doing housework or cooking. You are focusing on that moment, what you're doing, and you're not worrying about anything. So if you, not you, Cheryl, but like just the general,
you can preach to me.
the general you, if, there's things happening in your life that you are worried about, be productive. Like, don't just sit there on your phone, or don't sit there and watch TV and let your mind wander thinking about all these terrible things. Get up, do something, go for a walk, really be mindful of like how your body is feeling. If you're feeling kind of sick from stress of worrying about things, do something where you have to actively engage. Get a puppy or something. Like, especially, animals, they make sure you're engaged, especially like those little dogs that are like, mom, pay attention to me.
Yes. Get a puppy. Oh my gosh, I love that. I would love a puppy. We don't have room here for a puppy. But we do in the backyard, but not in the house. But get a puppy. That's got to be a bumper sticker. Get over it and get a puppy.
Get a puppy. Or this, like you and me talking. Like, if you feel alone or if you're feeling some kind of way, get on the phone and call someone that's not going to like dump on you. Just someone is very light, you can have lighthearted conversation with, say what you need to say, and then it'll be good. That's just what I do. So other people do it differently, but
well, and that's why I asked you. No, it's good to hear. It's really good to hear, Crystal, because we all learn from each other. I didn't even touch on the fact that you play violin and ukulele, and I wish, in some ways this was a vidcast, because then I can have you get up and belly dance a little bit while you're playing violin and baking. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
you're so
totally give you a class, free lessons.
You're so multi-talented. And speaking of music, ukulele and violin, and the fact that you sang, if there was a soundtrack to your life, what would be on it and why?
Oh, that is a great question, because I love all kinds of music. Do I remember who the artists are? No.
No.
Do I remember how they make me feel? Yes. No. Oh, man. It's funny. When I was in the military and I would be doing some sort of painting or like decorating or doing something, I really like the sound, the Amelie motion picture.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the Amelie soundtrack. Funny enough, my niece's name is Amelie as well. She was actually named after that movie. So now when I listen to it, it reminds me of her. But before she was born, like that was I don't know if that would be the soundtrack for my life, but I think just from all the traveling and really, I feel like every single deployment and location that I've lived, it's been a different lifetime. I felt like the core is still me, but I was a little bit of a different person every time I moved. So that's, and I don't know why, but that reminds me of the movie Amelie. And I guess that, to make it easy.
Well, I can certainly understand that because you're in a whole different country, different language, different culture, different smells and sights, and that paints a whole different picture. And that's why I love soundtrack music, because of that. It just evokes a whole thing in your mind, even if you've never been to these places. So in closing, dear Crystal M. Lee, how can people get in? This has been delightful. Thank you so much.
After this, like if you wanted to ever, I know you said you're from Southern California, but I would love to have like a real life coffee with you. Like
a real life. Oh, you don't even have, it could be a dead coffee. I don't care. If you say coffee in the title, I'm so there.
Yeah, let's get together, like in real life.
I would love to do that. Now, I'm so due for, now that things have opened up a bit and I have family in Southern California that I'm so overdue in seeing, I would love to have a coffee with you. We'll have coffee talk, coffee dogs and daughters, no big whoop. So, hey, in the meantime, how can other folks get a hold of you to hire you for this fantastic series they have in mind, or to have you belly dance or violin or what have you? How can people get a hold of you?
So they can either email me, Crystal at crystaljproductions.com, or you could go to the website, www.crystaljproductions.com. Also, if you want to bypass all of the other areas and aspects of my life and you want to just get to the voiceover, it's www.animatedvoiceovers.com. So that takes you straight to the voiceover section of my page. And all my info is on there. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I just got on the TikTok like last night.
Uh-oh. By the way, I'm going to have all this in your show notes, but are you hooked on the talk?
No, I am not, actually. I am trying to focus more of my time and energy on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has been they've been very good to me as far as like people finding me and hiring me for different jobs. I love LinkedIn. It's great. And the community on all of it is wonderful, but
it's more business on LinkedIn. So I can see that. Yeah.
And I do have Facebook, but yeah, anywhere. If you just type in Crystal J Productions or Crystal M. Lee, M for Maria. I just met a girl named Maria. Or how do you solve a problem like Maria?
Oh my gosh. I think on that note, my dear, you are such a joy. You really are a spark. I love your energy. Every time you come across one of the social media sites, I just smile because you bring that. And Crystal, you as crystals do, they reflect light, and you do that. There's light all over your countenance, and I'm so grateful that you blessed my show with your light. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
Yes, I am incredibly grateful for you and for everything that you've done for, 1, yourself, 2, the voiceover community, and 3, all of us women in general. I appreciate you so much, and my heart is just bursting. And thank you for helping me feel seen. I love you, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
And on that note, I'm going to go get some tissue and wipe my tears away. Oh my gosh.
Well,
thank you.
I think I gave you my number too. So like, if you ever want to chat after this, let's do it.
We will. No, we will definitely stay in touch. And You're just a beautiful human being, physically, mentally, spiritually. I'm so glad we connected. Thank you. Shout out to Jim Cooper.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
For hooking us up. Thank you, Jim. VO Big Dog, who was a guest on my show as well. So.
Oh, this is so wonderful. Thank you so much for everything, really.
This is going to be like the first date that you have with someone where you're on the phone and you're like, okay, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, all right. No, you hang up. So on the count of 3, we'll just say, because we both have Italy in our heart, ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella.
I'd also like to thank the following news outlets for the use of their clips in so aptly painting the picture of the fear that we're facing during this pandemic. BBC, PBS, Now This, UNESCO, and Some Good News. I especially want to thank Joel and Luke Smallbone, otherwise known as the group for King and Country, for allowing me to use an excerpt of their song Together, which could not be a more hopeful and inspiring song for such a time as this. Finally, I'll leave you with the following from Proverbs 23:18. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Thank you again for joining me today. Feel free to offer feedback or a story idea at 19stories@soundsatchelstudios.com, via Instagram at CherylHollingVO. I look forward to sharing more stories on the next episode of 19 Stories from Fear to Hope. Until then, stay healthy and hopeful.
Together with our differences, together we are bolder, braver, stronger.